Hello, and welcome to another lesson from Level Up Mathematics. In today's lesson, we will be exploring the effects of multiplying by fractions that are larger than 1 and smaller than 1, and reciprocals. So, when you multiply by a fraction whose value is larger than 1, the value of your number will increase. So, if I was going to multiply 4 times 7 over 2. Because 7 over 2 has a value that's larger than 1, I know that my product will be bigger than 4. Now, when you multiply by a fraction whose value is smaller than 1, the value of your number will decrease. So, if I was going to multiply 4 times 1/5, my product would be smaller than 4 because 1/5 is smaller than 1. So in example 1, it says determine whether each number is greater than 1 or smaller than 1. So in example A, we have 5 over 6. Now, because the numerator 5 is smaller than the denominator, this number would be smaller than 1. That fraction has a value that's less than 1. All right, problem B, 12 over 7. Because the numerator, 12, is larger than the denominator, 7, I know this fraction has a value that is greater than 1. All right, so pause the video and try problem C and D on your own. All right, welcome back. Let's see how you did. 1 3/4. Well, that is greater than 1. And 7 over 12 is smaller than 1. If you need to, pause the video and correct anything that you got wrong. All right, welcome back. Example 2. Determine whether the value of the expression is greater than 15 or less than 15. So our expression is 15 times 5 over 6. Now, 5 over 6 is a fraction that has a value that is less than 1. So according to our box at the top, when we multiply by a fraction whose value is smaller than 1, the value of the number will decrease. So I know that when I multiply 15 times 5, 6, I'm going to get a number that is smaller than 15. So I'm going to say it'll be less than 15. Now we're going to prove that by multiplying this out. So we have 15 over 1 times 5 over 6. Now 15 and 6 have a common factor of 3. So 6 divided by 3 is 2. 15 divided by 3 is 5. So when I multiply this out, I get 5 times 5, which is 25, and 1 times 2 is 2. So I'm going to write that as a mixed number. Let's see, 2 goes into 2 one time. 1 times 2 is 2. That's 0. Bring down the 5. 2 goes into 5 2 times. 2 times 2 is 4. So this would be 12 and 1/2. And sure enough, 12 and 1/2 is smaller or less than 15. All right, example 3. Which statement about 12 multiplied by 11/6 must be true? Now we're taking 12 and we're multiplying by this fraction. 11 over 6 has a value that's greater than 1. So 12 times 11 over 6 must be greater than 12. So look at our answer choices. A, the product is greater than 12. B, the product is between 10 and 12. C, the product is less than 5, 6. D, the product is less than 12. Well, the only one that said what we needed it to was answer A. The product is greater than 12. All right, example 4. Determine whether the value of each expression is greater than 32 or less than 32. So in expression A, we have 32 times 12 over 13. So I want to look at this fraction and ask myself, is the value of 12/13 bigger than 1 or smaller than 1? Well, the value is smaller than 1. So my answer will be less than 32. All right, problem B. We have 32 times 15/7. All right, so we must ask ourselves, is 15 over 7, does that have a value of more than 1 or less than 1? Well, it's a value that is more than 1. So I would, if I multiplied those two together, I would get an answer that is greater than 32. All right, pause the video and try problem C and D on your own. All right, welcome back. Problem C, 32 times 98 over 25. 98 over 25 has a value that's greater than 1, so I know my answer will be greater than 32. Problem D, 32 times 100 over 181. 100 over 181 has a value that's smaller than 1, so my product will be less than 32. All right, example 5. In the expression below, n represents a rational number. 4 times n. What value of n makes the expression equal to a number that's less than n? Pause the video and try this problem on your own. All right, welcome back. If I want my product of 4n to be less than n, then n must be a fraction that's less than 1. So answer A, 9 over 8, that has a value that's bigger than 1. B, 19 over 17, that has a value that's bigger than 1. C, 7 over 8, that has a value that is less than 1. All right. Now, in our next example, we're going to talk about reciprocals. So, reciprocals of a fraction. A fraction multiplied by its reciprocal has a product of 1. So, for an example, if I had 2 over 3 and I was going to multiply it by its reciprocal, I would flip that fraction and make it 3 over 2. So we have 2/3 times 3 over 2. If these two numbers are reciprocals of each other, their product should be 1. So 2 times 3 is 6. On the bottom, 3 times 2 is also 6. 6 divided by 6 is 1. So 2 over 3 and 3 over 2 are reciprocals of each other. All right, let's say I had 4 over 3. If I wanted to multiply it by its reciprocal, what do you think its reciprocal would be? All right, hopefully you said 3 over 4. Now let's make sure this is true. On the top, 4 times 3 is 12. On the bottom, 3 times 4 is also 12. And any number divided by itself is 1. So whenever we multiply a fraction by its reciprocal, the product will always be 1. So in example 6, it says determine the reciprocal of each fraction. So the reciprocal of 1 over 3 would be 3 over 1, but we generally write 3 over 1 as just 3. So the reciprocal of 1/3 is 3. All right, the reciprocal of 13 over 5, if I flip that over, would be 5 over 13. Pause the video and try problem C on your own. What is the reciprocal of 8/3? All right, welcome back. Hopefully you said the reciprocal of 8/3 was 3/8. All right, problem D. What is the reciprocal of 5? This one sometimes catches people off guard and they're not sure. Maybe it will help you if you write 5 as a fraction. If I write 5 as 5 over 1, it's easier to flip it over and find the reciprocal. So the reciprocal of 5 is 1 over 5. All right. Pause the video and try problem E and F on your own. All right, welcome back. Hopefully you said the reciprocal of 8 was 1 over 8. And hopefully you said the reciprocal of 1 is 1. All right, example 7. If each of the numbers below is multiplied by 3, then determine if the product is greater than 3 or less than 3. So if I took 4/3 and multiplied it by 3, would it be less than 3 or greater than 3? Well, 4/3 has a value that's larger than 1, so the product would be greater than 3. So 4/3 times 3 would be greater than 3. All right, 6/5. What if I multiplied 6 over 5 times 3? Would that be greater than 3 or less than 3? Well, 6 over 5 has a value that's larger than 1, so 6 over 5 times 3 would also be greater than 3. All right, so what if I take 2 over 1 and multiply it by 3? Would that have a product that's bigger than 3 or smaller than 3? Well, 2 over 1 is bigger than 1, so the product would be greater than 3. All right, what if I took 1/2 and multiplied it by 3? Would that product be greater than 3 or less than 3? Well, since 1/2 has a value that's smaller than 1, my product would be less than 3. All right, example 8. Circle the following rational numbers that you could multiply by 2 and result in a number that's greater than 2. Pause the video and try this problem on your own. All right, welcome back. So if you want a product that's greater than 2, the fraction must be greater than 1. If I want my product to be larger than 2, then the fraction must be greater than 1. So the only fractions that had a value greater than 1 were 7 over 5, 4 over 3, and 11 over 9. And that concludes today's lesson, Effects of Multiplying by Fractions and Reciprocals.